I'm Lise from Lisa's Crafty Creations, and today I thought I'll do just a little bit of getting to know you and what's been going on this week, because I'm sure some of you have realised that it's been a bit crazy in my house at the moment. First of all, let's tell you what I'm working on. This is the mermaid from the EasyWim subscription box. As you can see there, I don't know which way it actually goes up, that way or that way, not sure. I think it's that way, but there's a mermaid on a rock with then the moon in the sea and the sunrise above. I think it's a lovely picture. As I say, this came from the EasyWim subscription box. You can buy the picture separately. It's something like, I think it's $10.99 for the actual picture. It's a square drill. It's actually not too bad. I've got some popping drills, but that is because the drills are really tight. There's very little gapping in it. So using a multi-placer is not the best with this, because you get a better, more accurate fit with the drills if you use a single placer. Although I am using a multi-placer in some areas, you just have to be really careful that you're placing them spot on. Otherwise they get a bit too tight and you end up with popping. It has 35 colours. It's a 30 by 40 centimetre. It has no special drills or anything like that. What I've done, it comes already kitted up. All the colours come in bags with numbers on. So what I've done is I used the inventory sheet. I photocopied the inventory sheet like that, and I put it through my Xerox sticker maker, and then put the symbol DMC number on the bag, so that I know that I've got the right symbol. I've also put a copy of all of this in my logbook as well, which I had a video of, did yesterday. So if you're interested in having a look to see the logbooks, then please check out my last video. I'm using my Diamond Art Club pen. It has a 6-placer in one end and a single placer in the other. I've also got, I thought I'd use my sea themed cover minders that I got from Sammy's Crafts on Etsy. I've got my dolphin and my little crab. I love my crab. I've got my coffee, I've got my licorice and my inhaler, which I always need. I'm using a large white tray with a spout and blue wax that I got from GBFK kit. And we're ready to go. So what's been happening? As some of you know, we've been decorating. Well, I've not been well because of it, because I suffer from asthma, and so the dust and the smell of paint has set my asthma off. So I've been a bit like out of it the last couple of days. Spent most of my time in my bedroom or at my mother-in-law's, out of the way. But we have now finished decorating the bathroom, the toilet, and the passageway downstairs and upstairs. Absolutely beautiful. My daughters have done a fantastic job. We've had to replaster in places, we've fit new tiles, we've got a new sink, the works. It's been absolutely beautiful. I've actually now got somewhere to put my Chuck Pinson Diamond Art Club Treasures of the Outdoors painting up, which is a 94 by 70 or a 74 by 90, something like that. So my daughter's just managed to buy me a frame to fit that, so I'm looking forward to that coming and getting that hung on the wall, because it's about the only place big enough to hang it. So that's great. So I've got 2 of my paintings on the wall now, which is lovely. I managed to get my family heirloom put on the wall from my nana, which says Liebe, Lachen und Freunden, something willkommen, which means love, laughter and friends are always welcome here. I can't remember the little bit of Geestes Welcome or something like that, because my nana was German. So I managed to get that up, and the copper deer that I've got, I managed to get that up as well, both family heirlooms, which was nice because they've been, my nana died about nearly 3 years ago, maybe 3 years this year, and I miss her daily, and so it's nice to have those mementos now put up on the wall, and looking nice. So we had, my other daughter came and stayed over to help with the decorating, so we had an extra dog in the house, which was fun because he's huge. And as I say, I spent a lot of my time doing different bits and bobs at my mother-in-law's, who, bless her, had a nasty fall and has banged her head, and oh, she looks like she's cried a bruise. She's poor lady, she's just, oh, awful. And she's also had a damaged toe, so we've had to keep her off her feet. So me going up there has actually been good because it meant I've been able to help her out in bits and bobs. Let's get some drills down. So that's what's been happening here. I also got my sewing machine back, so I was able to do a video using my sewing machine to help show how to use it without the pedal. What else has been happening? Oh, I had my flu vaccination, which was not fun. I did not like that. My arm absolutely ached the next day. I couldn't lift it above my shoulder. Not that I can lift it very high anyway, generally, but I couldn't lift it very high. I felt like I had the flu. I was aching everywhere. I felt like I'd been run over by a bus, actually. It was awful. And headache, flu-like symptoms, lethargic, couldn't be bothered to get out of bed. Oh, it was horrible. But at least now I've had the first COVID vaccine. So we'll see what happens in the next one. They're going to call me in for the next one. And I was very lucky in the fact that I didn't have to go miles to get it. I just was able to get it from my local GP, which was great. So that was that done. I've been watching a lot of YouTube, watching Gertie and Rosie Posy Crafts, and I also like to watch Cal, which is what I'm doing this for. This is for the Anything Mermaid along that Cal's Crafts doing. It started on the 1st of March and it's going right the way through until the 31st of August. And basically, it's any craft that has a mermaid in it. So if you're doing resin, if you're doing a mermaid tail in resin, or you're doing a mermaid diamond painting, which is what I'm doing this for. If you're doing some kind of mermaid and cross stitch, crocheting, knitting, anything at all, you get an entry for each craft that you do, and you don't get an entry for each piece. So you can't do, say, get 3 entries for 3 diamond paintings. You would only get the 1 entry for diamond painting. But if you did like resin, a resin piece, a knitted piece and a diamond painting, then you would get 3 entries, 1 for each of those crafts. And then there's going to be a small prize at the end of the end of August, which you'll find out more about if you go on check Cal's video on Cal's Crafts. There's a whole video all about it, so go please check that out, and join us. The more the merrier. What else? What can I tell you about myself? Let's see if I can pass. What did I tell you last time? I told you I was a twin and that I worked in a florist. I also worked for a time in an old people's home, which was great. I had lots of different things happening there. One day I lost a patient. Thankfully it wasn't my fault. She just went walkabout. We found her at 2 o'clock in the morning in the garden after we'd spent hours and hours and hours wandering around the home, looking in wardrobes, under beds. Oh, I was in tears because it was my shift and this patient had gone missing. But she'd actually left the premises before the manager had left, the manager club owner. So it wasn't actually my fault, thankfully. But she was actually just in the garden, wandering around in the garden. And she was as happy as Larry. She didn't, she wasn't worried, and she didn't realise we were all worried about her. And when she came in, she was just looking at us as if we were all mad in the head for wondering where she was. It was like, well, where else would I be, you daft beggars? Well, we had our family looking for her. We were looking for her. Oh, it was awful. And at the same time, we still had another 19 patients to look after. Or residents, I should say. They weren't really patients. Which was good. Which was not fun, sorry. Look, worrying about this poor old lady. Oh. But, there we go. She was a regular sight in the village, I must admit. She often used to go walkabouts and we'd go finding her 10, 15 minutes later, but she'd never gone the length of time that we'd gone this time. So we had special locks put on the door after that so that it couldn't be opened on the inside unless you had a special code. Because as I say, she got out just that once too often. It was ridiculous. So then, there was an old man. I threatened an old man once because he was being inappropriate, very rude, and he thought it was funny, so I threatened to chop it off. And when I put my hand in my pocket threatening to get scissors out, he soon stopped. There was once when another gentleman used to try and have a little grab as he went past, and I was breastfeeding at the time, so he got a bit of a shock. When the milk came squirting, I mean obviously it didn't squirt him because I had a top on, but he did get a bit of a shock when he came away with a bit of a wet hand. His face was a picture. And one patient got catapulted out of the wheelchair because he kept putting his feet down. He wouldn't keep his feet on the bars, he kept putting his feet down, so you'd be pushing the wheelchair along and all of a sudden his foot would get caught, or he'd stick his foot down and then you were still going forward and the chair would suddenly stop and he would get catapulted out of the chair. Oh, it was scary pushing him around and that, because you always had to be so careful that he kept his feet up. You were constantly saying, put your feet up, put your feet up, put your feet up. Would he listen? Oh. Anyway, one day he ended up on the floor. I think he listened after that. We used to get patients wandering around thinking they were on night shift, because they used to be nurses. These people were really intelligent, lovely people, but they just suffered from dementia, and it was really sad. But I loved working there because the stories that these people told you were just amazing. The things that they'd been through, the life that they'd had. Some of them were very, very intelligent people, yet because of dementia they became only half the person that they had the ability to be, and it was so sad. We had one lady who used to hide food everywhere. Because she was diabetic, she wasn't allowed to have a lot of sweet stuff. But it was her one vice, as it were. She used to love sweets. Anything sweet. She used to hide all kinds of things in her handbag. We used to have to check it every night before she went to bed, because, otherwise she would have food hidden in her and she, please don't take it, please don't take it. Yet this lady, when she was, had all her faculties, was really intelligent, very, very clever lady. So it was sad to see her in the state that she came, but at the same time she used to go and tell you loads of stories. And when she went, because they all have periods of total like when they're aware and they're conscious of what's going on and where they are, and normality, and they tell you the stories they can tell you. It's just, I found them fascinating. It's a shame you didn't have time to sit down and talk to them a lot more. Thankfully I was on the night shift, so some people used to have difficulty sleeping, so I used to make them a cup of tea. We used to go and I used to sit with them. There was one lady in particular, she used to like a cup of tea, but she liked it in a pot. She didn't like you just to bring a cup. So I used to take a little tray up with a pot of tea and a cup and a jug of milk, and we used to sit and I'd have a cup with her. And she used to be up early, so it was like an hour before I tended to take the cups of tea round for everybody else. So I used to go in, sit down and have a chat to her, and it was lovely. We used to sit and just talk about things in general, or she'd tell me bits and bobs about her life and the fascinating stories about the things that she dealt with throughout her life. Were just amazing. It was the highlight of my shift, you know, sitting talking to them. So I often enjoyed doing that, sit and have a cup of tea, and then I'd leave her at about 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'd start going round all the early risers and making them a cup of tea and helping them get up if they needed to. It was lovely. And then one lady, I once had to tell her that her husband had phoned. I'd said, "Oh, sorry to tell you, your husband phoned and he won't be home tonight. So he says, go to bed and he'll see you in the morning and not to worry." Because she was wandering around and she thought she was younger and married and was wondering where her husband had gone. And there was no way I was going to tell her that her husband had died. And there was no reason for her to relive all that. So you often used to have to tell the odd little lie here and there to calm these people down. You know, women used to go around thinking they were on night shift, and you say, "Oh no, it's my night shift tonight. You've got to go to sleep. You're the sleeper. I'll tell you if there's a problem. I'll come and get you." And then they'd be like, "All right, okay," and then they'd wander off back to bed. I got attacked by a walking stick once, because I asked this lady to go back to bed. Because she was wandering. I'd be like, it's time to go back to bed. "Don't you tell me what to do," slam. And thankfully I caught this walking stick before it hit me, and I'm like, "Don't you hit me with that walking stick." "Well, you get out of my house." I says, "This isn't your house." And I had to tell her that she was actually staying in a friend's house, and that I was there to help and look after her, and come on, let's go back to bed. It was really hard sometimes to deal with them and try and think of a way to get these people back into bed without upsetting them, you know, because, you know, you don't want to upset them. You know, they've lived a long, hard-working life, and they get to this stage, and, you know, they deserve some respect and some dignity in their lives, and to just try and, you know, cause them more pain is just not fair. So, you know, you used to think of different ways to try and talk them into doing what you wanted them to do without them getting upset, you know, and to try and treat them, no matter what happened, try and treat them with dignity. Because I used to have a laugh with one lady. Every morning she used to say, "What's for breakfast?" And I would be like, "Well, what would you like for breakfast?" "Ham and eggs." And we used to have a laugh. "No, well, it's not ham and eggs. This is, you can have porridge, or you can have cereal, or you can have..." And I can't remember the different things that we served, but I used to tell her what she could have, and she'd be like, "Oh." Then one day I walked in. I'd been on shift like a few days in a trot. I worked the weekend, and so one morning I come in, she goes, "What's for breakfast?" And I went, "Ham and eggs." And she knew that I was just winding her up and having a laugh, and her eyes sparkled, and she went, "Really?" And I went, "What do you think?" And she went, "Oh, you're having me on." And she slapped me in the arm and had a laugh, and it was lovely. And I knew this lady. She was a friend of mine. She'd been a friend of mine for a long, long time. Well, 25 about 20 years. Well, no, it'd be about 10 years, 15 years. And she knew my husband when he was born. And so it was sad to see her, but she was a lovely, lovely lady. And she'd had a very difficult life. And so she was very timid, very careful. And she was always conscious, have I done something wrong? Am I in trouble? And we're like, no, it's fine, you're fine. But she used to have, I would have a laugh and a giggle with her, and she'd be so one of these timid, said ham and eggs and that kind of thing. And oh, she was lovely. And as I say, it's so sad to see these people in this state. But as I say, you try to look after them the best you can and give them the dignity that they deserve. And it's nice looking after them. Well, I enjoyed looking after them. It's not nice having to do some of the things that you do, but it is rewarding in the fact when you deal with these people, the gratitude that they have for the little things that you do for them. Like just bringing them a cup of tea or sitting down and having a 5-minute conversation with them. I used to take my children in sometimes, would visit, because it was a family run business and my husband was related to the owner. And we used to go in with the children. We used to go running in to see Auntie whoever. And the residents loved it when the kids went in. They would have a laugh and a joke and give them a hug, and the kids would sit and yatter away to them, and the old people used to love it, used to absolutely love it, and their faces would light up and beam, and oh, it was lovely. They loved it.